Good afternoon. It's time to call to order the Tuesday, April 17th, 2018 meeting of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. Before I formally call the meeting to order, I'd like just to make a couple of administrative announcements. One, if you have a cell phone, if you'd silence it at this time, we would appreciate it. And then number two, if you wish to address the trust on a particular item on the agenda, there are sign-up sheets in the hallway. If you would sign that up and give it to our clerk, we will call you when that item is discussed. Should you want to make any general comments to the trust that do not apply to a specific item on the agenda, if you would also sign up the sheet and then give it to the clerk, we will call on you at the end of the meeting. So that being said, let's call the meeting officially to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the March 20th, 2018 Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so done. Number two on our agenda, ratify the OCEDT claims.
Move the item.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Please cast your votes. And the claims are ratified. Number three are items for individual consideration. Kathy, you will, I understand, take these, so if you would, please, ma'am.
The first item is the Joint Economic Development Agreement between the city, the trust, and Costco Wholesale Corporation to construct a store in Oklahoma City. They plan to build a store at Western Avenue and the Kilpatrick Turnpike. It'll be about a 150,000 square foot store, about a $15 million investment. The agreement is structured in a way that Costco will receive 85% of the net new general fund sales tax revenues, not to exceed $3 million. So we calculated what the net new revenues for Oklahoma City would be. A good portion of their revenues are new to Oklahoma City, so we've calculated that and structured this so that they will receive not more than $3 million over probably somewhere between a 5 to 10 year period. I think the period on it goes out to 10 years, but they'll probably reach the $3 million way before that.
When is the groundbreaking?
I don't know when the groundbreaking will be, but I would imagine it's pretty soon. They would like the store open as soon as possible. I think the agreement contemplates something like next spring or summer, but if they can get it finished sooner, they would like to. So.
With that said, I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to let you know that during the negotiations, legal was able to get in contact with Costco's legal, and they've agreed to all of the terms that were necessary to complete this agreement.
Thank you, ma'am. There were some conversations back and forth over some of these terms, and so it's good to have that on the record. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Anybody else with a comment or question? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is approved. Next item.
Okay, the next item is an agreement with I-89 School District, the Oklahoma City Public Schools, for an allocation of $15 million from in TIF funding to meet some of their renovation needs at some of their facilities. The two projects have already gone through the formal allocation process through the TIF Review Committee and City Council, so this is just the agreement that memorializes that allocation of $15 million. They plan to spend $10 million has been allocated for the renovation of 615 North Classen. If you recall, they purchased that building a few years ago to be the new administrative offices for the school district. And then they'll also be spending about $5 million on fencing and roofing improvements at their operations center that are at I-35 and Northeast 23rd Street. And then also to complete a long-range facility planning assessment that looks at all of their buildings and their mechanical problems, their, life safety systems, any other kinds of building renovation needs that they might have. So that's about it. $15 million.
Let me ask you, throw a curveball out there. I think you'd be able to handle it okay. The $15 million, none of that money is going to go to salary increases for employees or for instructional material. Why is that?
Well, the tax increment dollars have to be spent on capital improvements or other kinds of studies and planning processes related to tax increment finance, to capital facilities. So TIF is to be used to construct physical improvements by the school district. And these are the kinds of things that they've identified that they'd like to spend the money on.
And what can we use ad valorem taxes for as far as the schools are concerned?
Well, ad valorem taxes in general, the city doesn't really receive any ad valorem taxes for operations. The city relies mostly on sales tax revenues and other sources to support their operations. So when we do create a tax increment financing district, we allocate money in the budget, in the project plan budget usually for the school districts and for the county and the other taxing jurisdictions. In some cases, we do have an opportunity to share the increment, and that money goes directly to the school district as a check each year. It doesn't go through the state school funding formula, so those funds could be used to support operations, but not these funds that are budgeted in the TIF project plan to be used for capital improvements.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else with questions or comments?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kathy, first of all, I appreciate the project. The school district, obviously, they would otherwise be a natural recipient of the ad valorem within its district, so I think it's very appropriate. The question just regarding the 4 projects, as I've seen them estimated, will the dollars made available to the district provide 100% of the costs associated with each of these 4, or are there matches occurring within the existing school district's budgets?
It's my understanding that it is not the entire source of funding, that they have other sources of funds. I know they have additional sources of funds for 615 North Classen and the other facility improvements. I'm not entirely certain about the long-range plan, but I think they would have other funding identified if that came in above the $1.2 million that's identified in the agreement.
And I guess perhaps a question for legal, and that is, in the event dollars run short and they're not able to finish the project, is there any remedy or any awareness that we need to have regarding either additional dollars that could help close that gap or expectations from us that they're going to make sure the dollars are there?
I mean, I think they could come back and make an additional request. I think we have exhausted the budget category in TIF 2 for the Oklahoma City Public Schools, so that would require a much more in-depth discussion and a lot more process than this item did.
I appreciate that. I would move approval of the item with the hope that it gets them across the goal line of whatever it is they can afford.
Motion is second. Any other questions or comments from the trustees? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is approved. Next up, we have the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation report.
I'd like to introduce Richard Clements, who is going to be going through the report for you today.
Thank you, Kathy. After 2 full weeks on the job.
Do you want a drum roll?
I'm sorry?
Do you want a drum roll?
I wouldn't expect that. In fact, this report covers the 3rd quarter of and is including information, of course, prior to me joining the staff in this capacity. So I guess I'd summarize the report by saying that overall in most of the categories we're doing quite well, in fact exceeding the measures that we've agreed upon by a significant amount. We've got a couple that are lagging just a little bit, having to do with contacting companies and some of the information related to marketing, but those things have a tendency to catch up in the last quarter. And so overall, I think we're doing quite well. And So I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Comments or questions for Richard?
That's it.
That's it.
I'll entertain a motion to receive the report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Give you one more chance. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is received. Welcome aboard and thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Next up, General Manager's report.
And the general manager's report is in your packet. The financials are through the end of February of this year. I think we've had we've been busy on a lot of different kinds of projects. There is a little update on the outlet mall. Through February, their sales have been $83.1 million, which is 1.4% above the established target and 2.4% of the same months last year. So we're seeing an improved performance at the outlet mall that we think is a reflection and partially of the new ownership and marketing and some of the things that they're working on out there.
And I believe they've also done some improvements to their infrastructure, have they not?
They have. They've done a lot of improvements to the buildings. They've got some new stores, so lots of good things happening out there.
Can you give an unsolicited commercial? Tell everybody, y'all come out and...
Yeah, everybody go to the outlet mall.
There you go.
Yeah.
That wasn't too hard, was it?
No, oh no.
Any other
like
comments
to
or
shop.
questions from the trustees? Seeing none, any comments from staff? Seeing none, any comments from the trustees? Again, seeing none, any citizens sign up to be heard? No. We are adjourned. Thank you all.